I have I've been thinking lately, or rather I've had this question dropped by spirit into my auric field. What is the difference between love and authenticity? What is the difference between love and authenticity? And this really brings up a lot for me about reparenting the inner child and attachment theory, attachment styles. What is the difference between love and authenticity? And I think about the times I've been in relationships in the past where I'm functioning from a human programming place where I am using survival skills, programmed behavior from places of wounded attachment styles, um, where I've not fully been in alignment with myself, where I've not been fully in authenticity, as I've not felt the level of safety and security to practice a deep level of vulnerability where I am able to move in integrity with myself, my needs, my wants, my feelings, and speaking truth to all of that, regardless of the way in which the other person is going to feel or respond to my own authenticity and my truth. And those are trauma reenactment type of relationships where we're noticing some karmic cycles, if you want to look at it from a spiritual language versus psychology language. And obviously, I didn't do that intentionally. I wasn't wearing a performative mask, like, I'm just going to hide who I am and function in this way in this relationship, right? You don't know what you don't know, and hindsight bias. As I've come into this place of a deeper level of integration and wholeness and an anchor safety with myself, I'm learning that so much of what I experience is this divine mirror that allows me to come home to myself. And so I've seen a lot of attachment theory and attachment style language becoming more prevalent in mainstream media and culture. I love attachment theory. I think it's so significant and critical, and it's driven my practice for a while now in a way that has helped the healing process, been normalizing, depersonalizing, and carries essence of humanity, humanizing. But this is the thing that can happen sometimes is, unfortunately, when something starts to get a little movement, and people start to hear about it or get their hands on it or speak about it without having some more information or the training background, that thing that is meant to be used and has this efficacy and the significance when it stands upright starts to tilt sideways. And that's where we get a lot of experiencing of stigma, unfortunately. And so I've seen some dehumanizing language around attachment styles, particularly around avoidant attachment, and language that is dehumanizing and entrenching and solidifying people into this attachment style. And I'm not loving that. So when I speak about attachment style to the people that I work with, I have been prefacing that and helping them to hold themselves as a soul, as a human, as a fluid dynamic energy that can change and deserves to reparent themselves to a place where they come into this inner union, this wholeness, where they can experience what it feels like to have a secure attachment style with yourself. We are all capable of this. We are all capable. Does it help to have people in your life who are a container large enough, stable enough, centered and rooted in themselves enough to allow you the space to unfurl without always bumping up against the edges of the container, so you can notice where the edges of you are, and you can have that mirroring, that reflection of, I'm noticing this, I'm feeling this way, when there's an invitation to a safe, loving, secure relationship. And so, what is this teaching me about some shadow work or some unhealed spaces where attachment wounds from my human programming, from my trauma history are rising up for me? And can we meet that with an invitation to reparent ourselves into this secure attachment style within? It starts with you and you, and closing out that space in between. And that's what's happening when we notice those wounded spaces rising up. We're all capable of that. And when you start to do that compassionate reparenting of these inner child wounds, when you notice little pockets where anything other than secure attachment style starts to come up for you. And I say that intentionally because don't entrench yourself in one particular area. It's going to move around. You're a human, you're fluid. So you may have one that shows up. This is the part that shows up for me, or this is the wounded attachment style that shows up for me the most, I think, when I notice these certain triggers in my life. Sure. You're also going to have times where you notice this one showing up and this one. You are fluid. You are more than a label. You're more than a diagnostic. And that's what needs to be at the heart. If you want to engage in transformative healing rather than symptom management, we've got to keep your soul essence in the front seat of this vehicle. So, authenticity and love. What is the difference between authenticity and love? If you want to experience true love, unwavering love, soul-centered love that starts with you and you, self-love, coming home to me, then I say maybe there is no difference between authenticity and love. That's authenticity. When you're in union with yourself, when you have a secure attachment with yourself, where there's no other relational dynamic that pushes you away from you any longer. And you can function in that type of integrity and that type of safety within. That's what we're aiming for in this depth of healing work that we're doing. And from the inside out, as within, so without, then we can notice how the depth and the integrity and the authenticity and the sovereign love, balanced and united, starts to shift in the external relationships around us as well. I just watched that back, and then there was a part I said at the end where I'm missing some information that feels important to me, so I want to add that here. And I just mentioned there about coming home to yourself and finding this divine union to the point that there is nothing that creates any type of distance between your relationship with yourself or causes you to have a rupture in your connection, your secure connection to yourself. And so I want to speak to that a little bit more, because that's not actually the goal, really. And when you think about secure attachment styles and what is really healthful in a relationship, it's rupture and repair, rupture and repair. We're not aiming for relational dynamics where there's no rupture that ever happens. We are imperfect beings. Everything is so fluid. We are looking for a type of safety and security that allows for movement, fluidity, dynamic things, including mood states that shift, and misalignments are going to happen. And so, what we're looking for is really about the repair. How good are we at repair? How quickly and effortlessly and comfortably and within, container of safety do we come into repair? And I think about this in terms of parenting and my children, right? So we're going to have a rupture. There may be a day I'm very imperfect. Obviously, we all are. And I model that and I use that repair. And so if there's a day where I didn't get enough sleep and all these other variety of things that can happen. And so my frustration tolerance is a little shorter than normal. And it's like the fifth time that something happened and I get like sensory overload and I'm like a little more sharp or a little more snappy than I wanted to be. It is how quickly do we both, my child and I, come back around to connection and repair, right? And me being able to say, how do you know earlier when mommy was like a little moody or a little snappy with you? I just wanted to say, I'm sorry about that. I didn't sleep well last night. You know how we all get grumpy when we don't sleep well like that. And that's not your fault. I wish I would have handled that this way. And we feel the ability to own our truths, to experience accountability, vulnerability, hurt feelings, and come back into a union with each other and with ourselves. This is the type of parenting style that's going to allow my child, as they grow up, to be able to experience times where they have a misalignment, they have a mood state that puts them outside of their authenticity, and they don't stay in a place of shame and self judgment longer than they need to, right? That would be perpetuating more of a insecure attachment style where the space in between when a rupture happens like that lingers longer than we want it to. The rupture piece of life is unavoidable. The return home to self as quickly, as effortlessly as if I can teach my kids how to do that in a way that feels so familiar and effortless, that's my game plan. And this is what I've been working on for myself and what I'm trying to speak to in terms of the reparenting of your inner child. And so I don't want anyone to misinterpret and aim for perfection in that and think like, oh no, I experienced a little rupture in my relationship to self where I noticed this feeling and this self doubt and this sense of desire to anchor my safety into somebody else instead of rooting it down into me, right? That, that's okay. That's all right. It's our repair time. It's our repair time. What's that repair looking for you? And are you getting really good at that? Beautiful. That is secure attachment style.